Hey guys, what's up? This is Casey,
And Coach Tom.
and this is Shot Science Overtime number 183. And we want to welcome you to our live show. This is not a tutorial, it's not a short video. This is a longer video where we talk to you guys about all things basketball. And if this is not for you, that's okay. Just go check out one of our other videos in our library. That's totally cool by us. But we're here to talk to anybody that wants to have a basketball discussion. So what happens is that we have a topic that we discuss at the top of the show. And while we're doing that, you guys are sending us your questions on anything basketball related that you want to talk about or have questions answered by us. And it can be anything from shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, how to talk to your coach, developing your athleticism. You fill in the blank, we will talk about it. And so send those in to us. And then once we're done with our topic, we will start answering those questions, okay? And at the same time, make sure that you guys are checking out all of our social media stuff. We are Shot Science and everything. Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, we are Shot Science and all those places. Different things going on in different places as well. So if you follow us on Facebook, you're going to see different things on Instagram, different things on Twitter, whatever. So follow us everywhere. Also, check out shotscience.com. We'll talk more about that in just a little bit. Okay? All right. So let's see here. Nice first comment. Let's see here. Our topic for today is what?
Our topic today is how do I select a travel team to play for or try out for?
Yeah. So, a lot of people, this is kind of like the off season for people that have been playing for school teams or have, it's kind of the off season for basketball. Yeah. But that usually means that this is kind of when spring basketball starts, traveling team basketball starts, and people start having questions about maybe how they should pick a team or what to look for in a team. Yeah. So what are some of those things, Dad?
Yeah. Well, the things that we want to take and talk about today are these when you're looking at a travel team, try to do a little bit of research. And if your parents are involved, which they should be, is that they should help you in kind of selecting ones that you want to look at, probably in your local area.
Yeah, a lot of times, too, there's different scenarios where this would happen, where maybe you're a caliber of player that is kind of basically recruited for one of these teams where they're actively kind of trying to get you to play for them. Right. Or maybe you're a player that's trying to reach out to a team and maybe there's a tryout that you have to do for that or whatever. Yeah. So there's different scenarios that might be going on here.
Yeah, that's really true. And one of the things is that we are kind of in the middle of travel team basketball right now. Usually it starts after the high school season in March or April. And then that's when the tournaments begin to pop up, and they go through about midsummer, usually maybe toward the end of July, and then that kind of tends to stop a lot of it. But the thing that's really important here is, the team that you think you want to play for, you need to do a little bit of homework on. And that homework should be regarding how it will affect you as a player.
Yeah.
Here's a key question. Why do people play travel basketball anyway? Well, the main reason is they are hoping that they're going to be able to get to one of these tournaments, probably a national tournament, where they're going to be able to play in front of college coaches. And by the way, that's a key question. I'm going to back up just a little bit. When you are going to play for a travel team, you want to know what national tournaments they're possibly going to be playing in. A lot of that has to do with the caliber of your play as well. There is a certain period where college coaches cannot go and watch you play. And so usually when there is a national tournament someplace like in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or the Midwest like Kansas City, they will have tournaments that are in that period of time where college coaches can come. And that's the only way they can really see you, of course. Okay. So the important things to remember in these things are this. What kind of a team are you looking for? If you're looking for a team where you can be a participant that plays in local tournaments and whatnot for fun, or hopefully to develop your game a little higher, that's different than if you're playing one of the national level teams like the Oakland Soldiers or the Atlanta Celtics or people like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you need to figure out a little bit where you stand. You need to have realistic expectations, and you need to evaluate what those teams are all about.
Yes, exactly.
And one of the things that you want to protect yourself from is that some of these teams are put together to just make money. Some of them are put together kind of to feed the egos of the people that are running them.
Yeah.
Some of them are put together that they're just about winning and getting accolades, and those probably aren't the best places for you
Right.
if you are a player.
Yeah.
You want this kind of situation to be more about your individual skill development, and not a lot of times that's the case when you're working with these traveling teams. And you've probably heard a bunch of the NBA players over the last few years and commentators and stuff, and they're talking about stuff like that,
Right.
where they're saying that there isn't an investment in individual skill development. It's all about playing games and winning.
Yeah.
And that's not really going to help you as you move up the ladder. And, in reality, who cares if your traveling team won in some obscure tournament, whenever? That doesn't really help you in developing yourself. Because maybe you just get the experience playing. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just sit on the bench and you're just the practice team guy.
Well, and that happens quite often too.
Yeah. And, there are all these things that you need to be aware of. And so when we're talking about vetting a team and looking at exactly what they're all about, you don't want to step into a situation where this coach is the traveling team coach, but his kids are also on the team, and he's filled out the starting roster with 4 of his kids, and and then you're left to kind of fight through that nepotism.
Yeah.
You don't want to get stuck in that situation. Same thing is true. It's where you want to reach out and maybe talk to former players or get some references, maybe look at their Facebook page and see what people are saying about them if they haven't blocked the negative stuff off of that as well. But you want to do some due diligence, some research, and figure out who these people are, what they're all about. Are they going to be about you, or is it about something else entirely?
Right. One of the things that you would want to ask them is how much do you think I would play if I made this team?
Okay, hold on.
And go ahead.
We want to say hey to what's up to all the people in the chat.
Oh, let's get them.
Thanks for. Well, no, we'll get to them later. I just want to say hey, what's up to you guys?
All right.
We are seeing your stuff, so keep leaving those messages,
Yeah,
and we'll
absolutely.
check them out as soon as we wrap up our talk here. But thanks. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, you would want to ask the coaches before you try out even how much they would allow you to play, or maybe after tryouts and you've made the team, that you want to ask them how much you think I'm going to play. One of the things, they may be honest, they may not be very honest about it. One of the things that happens in this kind of basketball is there are people who are involved in it who are looking at it as more of a monetary resolve for themselves. And so they go out and they get a team of really good players. They go find a sponsor that will sponsor them and feed money into that, especially if their players are not, and their families are not able to really produce the cash for that. But the thing that's important is that sometimes if you are a marginal player and you go onto a team, you're being brought on there to be really a financial basis for the team, which doesn't necessarily mean that's going to translate into you getting to play half the time. One of the things that I come in contact a lot with are students of mine who are playing on teams, and I will ask them how much you're playing. Not very much. What does that mean, not very much? Well, maybe 3 or 4 minutes a game. Well, so there you are in a situation where you're playing 2 20-minute halves, and so we got 40 minutes, and you're getting to play 3 or 4 minutes. That doesn't seem like that's a good deal for you as a player.
And you're probably paying as much as the guy that gets to play
You
25, 30 minutes.
You are, and you're supplementing the team as kind of a financial resource. That's the thing that I'm getting about.
And this is off-season basketball where you're trying to develop yourself into a better player.
Yeah.
So the investment in you doesn't seem like it's necessarily there.
Well, it may appear to be, but it may also end up not being anything about you. Okay.
And so, one of the reasons that we want to talk to you guys about this is because we don't want to see you get taken advantage of. We don't want to see you get in a bad, position. Not all teams are like what we're talking about.
Exactly.
We just want you to be aware of some of the things that go on that you might not see unless you're looking for it. But there are great traveling teams too.
There are. And one of the next things you want to take and look at is this. Is this a team that really practices about and works on developing your skills? Because many of them are not. What they will do, this is a practice that was more prevalent maybe 5 or 10 years ago, is that players were coming from all over the country to play maybe on a team in San Francisco, California. And so the people involved in this started breaking it down where you could not play on a team that was not abutting the state of California. And then you couldn't have more than 2 players. And so they tried to take and break it down a little bit. And so the situation is this, is that players were coming from all over, and and players were jumping teams. I can remember being involved in this maybe in the late 2000s, and there were players who would jump teams. They'd be going to Los Angeles, and then they're playing for a team there, and then somebody else makes them a better offer, and so the next time they play, they're playing for another team. Well, most of those tournaments have kind of put a stop to that as much as they can, so that people aren't jumping back and forth. Well, it was done basically utilizing shoe and uniform
endorsement stuff,
and so they really had to take care of it. And so it's a lot better now.
And and some of it is like that whole super team stuff where they would recruit these people from all over, and they put it on one team, and that team is going to just blast through that entire tournament. And a lot of it would be for those endorsement deals or deals where the coach or whoever the person that was running it was the director. They would get money down the road from those players if they were to go to the NBA.
That's true.
That's a crazy thing.
That's true.
There's situations where it's really just about the coach's ego. I mean, I remember tons of those guys where it was all about the coach and this team that he spent time putting together, but there's no development of any of the players. It's just putting these guys together to just run the tournament.
Exactly.
And that I also remember being a kid, and we would play in these tournaments that were in kind of the East Bay of California, and you'd play on one team that you play against like Menlo Park or something like that, and it would be these certain guys, and then you go play against a Palo Alto team, and all of a sudden there's 2 guys from the Menlo team that are on the Palo Alto team, and you're like, what? It's the same guys. They just pulled the uniforms. And then there would be times where you would play against teams, and we were 13 years old, and we're playing against guys that are clearly 17 or 18 years old.
And a question on how do you know that?
Well, I have a funny story about that, because we played these guys, and we were 13 years old. We had to be 13 or 14. And we went out into the parking lot after the game. One of them got into the driver's seat of the car and drove away, and the other one had a kid and got in the car with his girlfriend or whoever. And I mean, they had facial hair. They were older. Okay. So you have to kind of understand that whole kind of system of the traveling team, there's some wonky stuff going on. And a lot of it is money, endorsement, ego. So you have to be careful about what's going on.
Well, so that brings us to the next point here.
That was a deep dive.
One of the things that you need to do, you and your parents, is you need to do some digging to find out who the coaches are and what their mission statement is. In other words, what is it they're trying to do, and are they actually qualified to be coaches? Because Casey and I, being involved in that for a number of years, there are a lot of people who really don't know very much about the game of basketball, but they like to be involved and all the other things that kind of go along with it. So you and your parents should be taking and asking these kind of questions. How much do you think I might play if I play on your team? The other thing is, do you teach skills or is it just scrimmage and play? And then you want to know, does your coach actually know anything about the game? Now, certainly everybody's going to say, I've coached for 20 years and I know this and I know that. But you need to take and get references.
Everybody's an expert these days.
Yeah, and that's important.
You can read a book on the triangle offense and think that you're, Phil Jackson the next day and start a team.
Exactly. I mean, anybody can start a team. That happens all the time. That's kind of how we started.
Don't lump us in like that.
Well,
you had 40 years of coaching experience behind you,
I did.
And you were doing it with other people that were coaches and stuff.
Right.
It's not like I watched a couple of videos on YouTube. Tomorrow I'm a basketball coach.
Well, in our purpose at that time that we started our program, that Casey and his brother played on, was this. It was about developing the players and their skills and whatnot. And one of the rules that we had, and certainly not everybody abides by this, but I think it's really important when you're young teams, is everybody's going to play at least half the game.
Yeah.
And that only seems right when you come in, and I think we charged $175, which was laughable by today's standards, for you to come and play on that team through the spring and summer. And the thing that is important is that they were coming to become better players. They weren't looking for scholarships at that particular age in high school and whatnot.
Well, we
grade school.
started in middle school was
Yeah.
when it really started, and we went up through high school.
Yeah, and one of the things that we did also, and we were kind of fortunate because these people existed around our community, is that we ended up having, I think, 8 teams the last couple of years that we did this, and every one of those teams, except for one, was coached by a high school varsity head coach. And some of them had members on their sons on their teams, but the thing is that we got really good coaching, and that really affected the local basketball scene for 4 or 5 years, because these players all came along at about the same time, and they all had developed into really good players. And so the thing that's real important here too is to move on to our next and last item here is, how much does it cost to participate? There's some local teams here, and I know they charge different fees, but I've heard that it's between $500 and $900 for the spring and summer season. And out of that, what they're doing is they're probably paying for uniforms. They're paying for a little bit of travel possibly, and there is possibility that
Entrance fees and coaches.
Yeah, entrance fees, and then paying the coaches a certain amount to pay them for their time, and I think that's all legitimate. One of the things that happens, though, you want to make sure when you join a team, what are they really going to do in all these categories? What is their mission statement? Are they cutthroat type teams where they're just putting guys together who can win national championships or whatever? How much time would I get a chance to play? Very important, because if you're, let's say, a sophomore in high school and you're playing on a travel team and you're playing, like I said, 4 minutes a game, you're not going to get very much out of that, and certainly it's not going to be reconciled very well with if you have to pay them, $900 to do that.
Yeah,
okay?
Are you going to pay $900 for a jersey? I mean, that's really what you would be doing.
Yeah, and then the next item is, who is the coach, and what do I know about the coach? I know he's a father. Okay, or I know that he's a local guy who plays pickup basketball and he just wants to run a team.
The armchair experts.
Okay, exactly, and so you want to kind of evaluate that. And what you want to try to do, if you can, is find somebody who is going to actually teach you how to play the game. There are practices where you have to take and come and go through drills and work on different items of the game. And then finally, taking a look at the cost. Will that fit my family's budget? Or is it too much? Those are the kind of things you want to be looking at when it comes time to play on a travel team.
Yeah.
Now, something else, just a thought that just jumped in my mind there, Casey. An awful lot of the people in basketball around the country kind of refer to travel basketball as AAU basketball. Well, in some areas, AAU basketball is very prevalent and strong, but there are also an awful lot of other individuals that are really merely just travel teams, and they don't have that association with the
Amateur Athletic Union.
Yeah, the AAU. Okay, and so you need to kind of ask a lot of those questions to see, is this going to fit for me? Because you're going to be with them for about 5 or 6 months.
Yeah, I would just say this. You have so much information at your disposal these days. Back when I was going through playing for traveling teams or whatever, I was lucky enough that it was my family and, our community had a good system. But, there was no way for us to evaluate each other using online resources. That didn't really exist.
Yeah, it didn't.
But now you guys have so much information out there. You can go to the team's Facebook page. You can do some research on who the coach is online and what their background is. You can look up videos of them online and see what they're all about in videos.
Exactly.
So you need to do some due diligence, and don't just go for that. If you are trying out for a team, you can ask that coach for some references. You can also look up references maybe through their Facebook page, get some that aren't maybe colored by their choosing. But just figure out what they're about. The biggest questions to ask, though, are, is there an emphasis on individual skill development, individual player skill development? So it's not just playing games, not just showing up, not just scrimmaging, but there's actual player development going on.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that the cost is right, the playing time at these tournaments is in a good spot, so that you don't sign up, pay $800, get a jersey, and then play 2 minutes a game.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem fair.
Well, and parents are not happy about that either.
Yeah, and so do the due diligence ahead of time, so that you don't get stuck in one of those situations where you're pissed off and you basically feel like you've lost that time to develop yourself.
Well, let me throw in one last item, and then we'll jump out of this. And that is, the question is, how important is it to play on a travel team? Well, what do you get out of it?
Yeah, that's one of the things I was going to say. There's like opportunity costs, and what is the, kind of, you have to balance and look at it. Is the cost of one or the other worth it?
Yeah.
Or is this better time spent on my own?
Yeah, and travel basketball has kind of developed in the last probably 20, 25 years. It was there before, but it's really grown. And one of the things that has happened here is that a lot of the college scouting has centered around travel basketball teams. Coaches contact college coaches, AU coaches or travel team coaches, contact college coaches. And I've got so-and-so who is this, this, and this, and it would be great if you get a chance to see him play. Oh, you want to watch him? Okay, we're going to be playing in this tournament in Kansas City in June, and you probably get a look at him right there. And so it used to be, when I was a head coach in basketball here in California, we always had to contact the coaches as their basketball coaches, because I don't remember there ever being anything like goes on now with travel teams in this country. And coaches, it's kind of interesting. In the course of probably 30 years, that has all just kind of evolved into what we see now, where these travel teams, the better travel teams, are the ones who are showcasing the better players in the country that the college coaches want to recruit. So that's all important information for you guys. Hopefully you find that it is interesting for you.
Yeah, our take home is just take care of yourself, do your research, and make sure that you're not just joining a team because of the name of the team.
Yeah.
Make sure it's about you, because you get to make that decision about you.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
All right.
Okay, so that's going to do it for that topic. If you guys have more questions about that, we can obviously get more into detail on that. Just leave them in the comments. Make sure that you guys check us out on all things Shot Science on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. We are Shot Science on all of those things. We would love to have you guys there. Yeah. If you have questions during the week, that's probably the best place to catch us, is in those places. Also, make sure you guys check out shotscience.com, because that's our website. That's where we have all the stuff that pertains to us that we think is going to help you become a better basketball player. You can get all of the training gear that we're putting together. We have the jump box there. So if you want to work on developing your athleticism and your vertical jump, we suggest checking out the jump box. Right now it's $15 off in the store. Wow. So if you want to get it at that price, now would be the time to do it. Yeah. And it has a Shot Science shirt in it. Yeah. And training gear like resistance bands, jump rope, foam roller, all the stuff that you need, all the stuff that you see in our vertical jump videos as well. So check that out, shotscience.com. You can also get the all access pass that has our in-depth, in detail training stuff there. Yeah. Including drills and walkthroughs and breakdowns and all that. So check out shotscience.com. Doing commercials is not our favorite thing, but we want you guys to go there, because we built that place for you guys. And if you guys do get gear like the Shot Science shirts and stuff, and you go to your social media pages and you post that and you put hashtag Team Shot Science, we see that, and we want to feature those people in our different various social media pages. So if you wear a Shot Science t-shirt and you're playing a game of pickup basketball, post that, and we might see that, or we will see that, and then we might put it up on our Facebook page. So just something to think about. We would love to feature any of you guys. Okay, shotscience.com. Okay, so let's get into our questions here because we got a bunch of people that have already left some questions. Actually, we didn't do our question of the week. That was so dumb. Okay, our question of the week, which we do every week, and is why I feel so silly for missing it, is this question that we ask you guys.
Where are you located in the world?
Yeah, where are you guys from? We are in Santa Cruz, California, which is south of San Francisco.
Nice sunshiny day.
Yeah, but we want to know whether you are from Paris, France, or if you are from Mongolia, or if you are from South Africa, or
Lithuania.
we want to know where you guys are from. Leave those in the comments down below. And if you are a Team Shot Science member, tell the people in your town or city to check out Shot Science basketball. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay, this one is from Nays, who says, here 4 weeks in a row now. What's good, guys? Awesome. We're happy that you've been here four times in a row. That's pretty awesome.
We hope we're giving you information you find useful.
And we see people that they show up and they're the regulars. We know you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, Lee Ax Isaki. I think I've had problems with your name every time that you've asked a question. I am sorry. Should I practice more on basic shooting and finishing, or should I train more on moves like crossovers and step backs?
You know, that's a great question. One of the things that I think is really important is you want to take and break those into two different segments. One of them where you're just really working on all of the
foundational elements.
Yeah, the different elements of shooting. Because I was working this morning with a couple of young guys, and one of the things I noticed is that their elbow was starting to flare out on the release, and that flattens the shot out. And so what we think is really important is to take and use our form shooting drill, which you can find on our YouTube channel, and use that to really make all of those mechanics working really well for you. And then after you're feeling pretty good about that, then spend some time on ball skills. One of the things that people don't do enough of is working on their ball handling. And as a result, they get into a situation where they don't have an offhand, and the defense recognizes that early on or even before you play, and they will make you play with that hand the whole game. And so what happens is that you are limited. So you want to take and spend time working on your ball skills. And one of the young guys today asked me, well, Coach, how much should I spend on that per day? And my answer to him is spend 15 minutes a day just on ball skills, and put together a series of maybe 8 or 10 different drills. Don't do the same drills every day. Then after you have developed your shooting and you've developed some ball skills, then it's time for you to start getting into different moves, because if you're going to make a move, that is the first thing you have to do, is be able to have pretty good ball skills. If you don't have ball skills, you can't move anyplace. Okay, you just can't beat people off. And so that would be our process for helping you develop those skills.
I mean, it's one of those things where you're asking us whether you should do foundational building of your skills, or you should do more complex game speed, game intensity stuff. The fact of the matter is, you got to do all of that, and you have to work on the first pillar of practice. There's 3 pillars of practice, and we've talked about this all the time, but you have to work on the first pillar, which would be like the basic shooting, the basic finishing at the rim, where you are breaking everything down and you're slowing it down, and you are making sure that you have all the mechanical movements and everything going in the right places at the right times, and you're starting to amp it up a little bit so that it's getting more and more up to actual game speed. And then the second pillar is game speed, game intensity stuff. And so when you're doing stuff like crossovers and step backs, you do that in the first pillar too. Those are actually foundational as well. They're just kind of they build off of the more basic, more kind of foundational elements. So basic shooting still is employed by a step back. You still have to use that same shooting mechanics with the step back, but the step back is a offensive move that gets you to the actual shot.
That creates your space for that shot.
Yeah. So you need to work on building all of that stuff. And we never tell people you should focus on this thing, and that's what you need to be good at. That is the worst approach to becoming a basketball player. If we just said, we want you to work on your crossovers and your step backs.
And then there's a big gap there.
What the heck else are you going to do? I mean,
maybe the person you're playing won't allow you to execute those moves. And now what do you do?
We want you to be an all-around basketball threat. So you don't focus on one thing. You are good at everything. You can shoot, you can pass, you can attack off the dribble, you can play defense, you can actually make some free throws. You're a leader. You're whatever.
Yeah.
You're all these things. So we don't like to tell anybody to focus on any one thing. Okay, that's good for that.
All right.
Bulldog says, "What's up from Michigan?"
Oh,
Awesome.
Bulldog.
Let's
All
see.
right.
We got more down here. We have MJ Sart, who's from Winnipeg. We have Orange Baller 2K from Parkland, Florida. We have Andres Sims from Lithuania.
All right, Andres. Okay.
we
We
keep
knew there was somebody there,
Yeah, we keep calling out Lithuania.
and we're just teasing about that kind of stuff. Too.
Jeremy Lynn's hair. I remember you. You're from Virginia Beach.
All right.
Minnie Jennings, we'll ask. Okay, you have tryouts on Thursday. Can I have tips? Yes. Go to our video on how to make the team.
Yeah.
That's like the biggest thing we can suggest to people is check out how to make the team, because that's really the best advice. And if you have an immediate tryout happening, you do not have time to work on your skills in terms of elevating them to any of the next levels.
Yeah.
You want them to be polished, but now it's kind of the time where you can do these other things in the making the team video that actually are something that is more immediate.
Yeah. True.
Right?
Yep. Very true.
Actually, let's go down here. This is from Bulldogs, who says, "Coach question. The inside players on my junior high team seem to shoot much different than guard players. Do you teach same shooting techniques for inside players as you would ball handler outside player?"
To answer that question, we do when you're facing up to the basket. When you've got your back to the basket, of course, there's a series of different kinds of shots that you can use that are different than you might be if you were facing the basket. Let's say they catch the ball as a post player at the high post and you immediately turn. Now your shooting mechanics are exactly the same as anybody else facing the basket. If you catch the ball at a low post position, let's say where maybe you're going to take and work on a little jump hook in the middle, that's a little different. And so that will be different than those people who are facing the basket.
Well, those are different shots, though, too.
Yeah.
So, like, the basic shot for everybody on the planet is technically the same foundational elements.
Yeah.
It might not necessarily look exactly the same, but the same foundational elements. The set point, the feet in that slight stagger, the shoulders in the certain place, finishing above your shooting eye, all of these things, the flop finish, all of those things are foundational elements. Everybody shoots the same. Point guard, post player, the coach on the sideline.
Yeah, when you're facing the basket.
Yeah.
If you're not facing up to the basket, then there's a series of other kinds of shooting that, let's say you're a low post player, and maybe you're going to take and execute a drop step. That's going to be different because of where you're located and what kind of shot it's going to be.
Those are shots in the post. So that's something like you would have like a jump hook or a sky hook, or even like finishing with your body between the ball or between the defender and the basketball.
Yep.
Those are different shots, but those are not. As soon as you start to step away from the basket, those are not the shots you want to take. You don't want to take a jump hook from 10 feet away. That's not the best approach.
Yeah.
But in terms of shooting techniques, like an actual, just a regular shot, those are always the same fundamental elements.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, this one is from our buddy Kevin Kolev from Ireland. He's here all the time.
All right,
See,
Kevin.
we know people. Kevin asks, "Hi guys, today I have practiced free throws lately without a space between the ball and my hand. What is the reason for shooting with a space between your hand and the ball?" I think you're talking about the one finger test.
Yeah, one of the things that you find is that if you have the palm flat, notice that the thumb is over here, and notice how unstable the basketball is there, is that you can see it bouncing around. Now, what happens when he spreads his thumb and he creates this one finger slot here, he's gripping the ball with his thumb and his little finger, and that allows him to have better control of the basket.
And I'm not squeezing it, I'm not tensing up.
You're just gripping it.
It's really just, it's on those pads, but instead of having it flat on my palm, I don't have the same kind of grip or leverage. I'm not gripping it any harder with my hand as when I do it like this. It's just I have more of a good solid positioning on the ball.
Right. And now the main fact...
You don't want it like this, though, either. That's a problem.
Yeah, you don't want it like that.
Because that, again, no control.
Right. And the main fact for spreading that thumb out, aside from the grip, is that we get the ball up on the finger pads. And, our sense of touch is much higher and more intense when we have the finger pads involved. And so we want those to be the main sources of contact on the basketball. You don't have much in the way of sensory feeling in this part of your hand. But once you get up the fingers toward the pads, then it becomes very, very intense. You can feel what the ball does when you release it, all those kinds of things.
I mean, the biggest thing, though, is the control.
Yep.
Because you want to be able to deliver the basketball. And if you think about it, if you are off just a millimeter in your delivery of the basketball, like it comes off and it's off a millimeter, that is amplified by the time it gets to the basket. So you have to make sure that you have the best control of it so that when the ball comes off, you know, it's not wily, you're not wily, and you have actual control. Because if it's on your palm, I mean, I have no control when it's on my palm. But when it's on my finger pads, I do.
Yeah.
Hopefully
Hope
that
that
answers
helps.
that. Let's see. I Eats Goat says, question for the dude in the hat. What coach do you see you as in the NBA, like Brad Stevens, Greg Popovich, etc.? I don't know what you're asking, but are you asking like who are coaches that you like in the NBA? I guess?
Well, you know, you mentioned two of them I think are just outstanding, and certainly I couldn't be a Brad Stevens because I'm a year or two older than he is. Popovich are probably, you know, a little closer there. But they're great coaches, and I think they really do a great job with their teams, and Popovich forever. I mean, that guy's been involved in NBA, I think, for like 20 years now, and he's been in the playoffs, I think, 10 times during that time. And Brad Stevens, he's a newbie to the NBA, but not a newbie to coaching basketball. He was, I think, at Butler for a long time, and made the transition that many coaches haven't made into the NBA. But he has, and he does a great job with it. And they very possibly will be playing this upcoming few days against the Cavaliers. Okay.
Yep. Let's see. And those are just two great coaches.
And the dude in the hat's Coach Tom. Okay?
Yeah, and you were coaching long before any of those guys were coaching.
Yeah, long before any.
Orange Baller 2K says, what do you do if you are not playing a lot on your travel team and you don't want to quit?
That's an interesting question. It depends on how much it bothers you and how much it bothers maybe your parents that you're not playing very much. But this is the thing that we were talking about before, is that it would be great if you knew going in and they say, well, we see you maybe playing 5 minutes a game. But if they think you're going to split, they may tell you you're going to be playing 15 minutes a game, and then it really gets down to maybe 5. And so it depends on who you're playing for. And the thing is, I don't know that it's a good idea to quit at this particular point.
If you've already paid too, I mean,
yeah, they're not going to give you the money back more than likely. And so
the thing to do, I think, is you have to kind of, pardon the phrase, but man up a little bit and go talk to your coach.
Exactly.
And a lot of times these coaches, and we don't know what situation you're in, but a lot of times these coaches, they don't really care, and the leverage that you apply to them doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But you can talk to them and just say, Coach, I would really love to get some more playing time, and if there's any way we can make that happen, I would really appreciate if we could do that. If they don't like that or don't respond to that, you could say, this is maybe not the best approach, but if it was me, I would probably say something like, this is not really fair. I'm paying this amount of money and I want to develop my game just as much as these guys do. Okay. So we need to work on getting more playing time.
Or the or of it for me is, or I want some of my money back.
Yeah.
Because they're making it a situation where they're charging you same money as maybe they're charging somebody else. Here's what happens on some of those teams too. Not all the players are paying, if you understand what I mean. They're really good. They're outstanding players. They can't afford it. Their family's not able to pay the money. And so they siphon off the money maybe from other players who are more capable of paying for it. Now, I don't know how realistic that is in every situation, but, every time a parent or kid tells me that their travel team is only allowing them to play about 5 minutes or less in a game, I just find that just reprehensible. Unless they tell you up front, you're only going to play this amount of time. And if that's the case, that's how you should pay for it. If I'm going to play for 10 minutes a game, then figure it out. If it costs me $900 and it's going to be 20 games and just kind of figure out the dollars on it, and then maybe you don't end up playing for them. Not playing in travel ball is not the end of the world, and not every player develops into a really good player just because they're on a travel team. The pluses are these: that if you have really good coaches and they are preparing you and helping you get better, and then you get into the games where the competition is at a higher level, you probably are going to make progress. And what are you making that progress for? Probably most of you are not going to play college basketball. That's the reality of it. And probably even fewer than you could imagine are ever going to make it to the NBA. So what are you doing? You're improving your game, trying to get to a point where you can play maybe on your high school team or maybe JC team or even a college team. That's what you're trying to do. And so you need to take hold of that situation and make it work for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real take home is that, you have to go have a conversation with your coach. I mean, you're kind of giving one extreme or the other here, like just play or quit.
Yep.
There are some other things that you need to explore. And, it's we don't want you guys to get in that position. So do your due diligence in finding out. Okay, tell me where you guys are from. That's our question of the day. Where are you guys from in the world? Let's see. This is from JK fan #1738 who says, I'm trying to find a team to play for. How can I find a team? Okay. Go on the internet and do some searching. Ask people that are playing for teams or that are in your town. There's a ton of things that you can do. Do a Google search.
One of the things you can do is you can go to the AAU and just type in your state and maybe even county, and they will give you a rundown on all the teams that are in that particular locale.
I'm King Justin says, can you recommend any college showcases for international players? I've seen the International Doorway Showcase in Florida. Are they good or a scam? We cannot tell you which ones are scams and which ones are not. Yeah. You have to do, again, your research into that. Personally, I don't think that going to any showcases is a good idea, because unless you are a marquee player, they aren't good, because that's who people are coming to see. And typically they know about those players ahead of time anyways.
Exactly right.
And so you're basically just going to do what? Are you going to stand out next to this person that is, fast track to the NBA? That's tough. Yeah. I think that the best way for international players, or even just other, kind of more, the players that aren't these marquee players, to get recognized and seen by coaches, is to do a lot of the heavy lifting yourself. Get in there, put together these videos of your highlights and of your half of play or your best game play. Go out, send those out to a ton of coaches through email, and be very gracious in your message. Coach, I would love it if you could maybe take a look at my highlights. I feel like I might be a good fit at your school. Please let me know if you would like to see any more. That kind of stuff, where you are graciously approaching them.
And we've had coaches on our
live shows.
On our live shows, and that's what they always voice, is that take and send your video to us. And like Casey said, a half of a good game showing how you play over a period of time, and then maybe
some quick highlights.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 minutes of highlights.
Do not put music or hardcore rap or any of that stuff. They don't want to hear that.
No.
And make sure that it's not like some cinematic thing where they have to sit through 3 minutes of whatever it is. Mm-hmm. You need to get right to the point. It needs to be very, because they're not going to waste their time. They'll start that and then they'll just bail out. If they hear the rap music or the hard rock or whatever it is, they'll bail out. You need to make sure that you are putting together this package from their perspective, what they want to see.
Yeah.
They want to see the quick highlights. If they're interested in that, then they'll look at your best half of play that you've sent them. Then maybe you have some testimonials of your coach or your parents or your family friends or whoever that say, yeah, this guy, I'm King Justin. He's awesome. You want to have him on your team. He's a leader, blah, whatever it is. But you have that package and you send it out to a bunch of coaches and realize and recognize that a very small percentage of them might get back to you. They might not. Right. But you got to do a lot of groundwork there that is so much better time spent, money spent than, and I mean, it's no money spent really, than going to these showcases where you better be a marquee player.
And coaches that go to them want to know who they're going to see.
Yeah.
And if they don't know anything about you, you could be wasting a lot of money getting to anywhere in this country for those showcases.
Yep. And, that's something that they don't want you to know, those showcases. They don't want you to know that those coaches know who's going to be there, and they've already scoped it out.
Yeah.
This one is from Dan Lacote, who says, what do you recommend for packing on muscle for basketball but staying quick and jumping well? We would say we don't recommend you packing on muscle at all.
Right.
So many people, especially younger players, they get so caught up in trying to train like these NBA guys or train like Division I basketball players, where they should actually be spending the time that they have developing their individual skills. So working on your shooting, your passing, your ball handling, your defense, those things carry on much more weight than stuff like building, putting on 20 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
Because that time, if you have to do that, you spend an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym lifting weights, where you could have spent that time working on your shooting or working on your ball handling. Right. If you are 20 pounds more muscular and you haven't developed your game, nobody cares.
Yeah, right. They admire your body for what it is, but the fact that you can't do much with it, that's the important thing.
And once you get to these higher levels of basketball, that kind of training is built into your time. So when you're a Division I basketball player, they have weight room time that they want you to spend on that. NBA players, same thing. You are a young player. You're trying to develop yourself as a basketball player. That time that you spend in the gym working out on lifting weights doesn't pay off as much as you would think that it would.
Yeah.
We're much more into the functional conditioning stuff. So building on your athleticism, working on your quickness, your explosiveness, your vertical, things like that pay off much more than I can bench it. I've seen some of these guys that they do that. They have that mentality. They're going to go work out for the summer, and they spend all their time doing that, and then they show up, and it's the scrawny guy that weighs 50 pounds less that just dominates them because they worked on their game.
Yeah.
So we suggest, and that's coming from me. I work out all the time. I'm in the gym every day, but I do not recommend that for people that are trying to be next level basketball players. I do that because I'm older and I'm not training to be a basketball player anymore. Okay. Let's see here. Bulldogs asks, what's some of your favorite drills you guys have used in practice that can improve teamwork and communication?
It's interesting. I don't know that a drill necessarily by itself is what we really focus on. We use all kinds of drills that are team drills, but we first of all, we make sure that everybody understands that communication in basketball is probably one of the key elements. And there's not a basketball coach in the country and maybe the world that would tell you any differently than that. One of the things so important is that we communicate what's happening with us, what's happening with somebody else, so that we can support each other defensively. And so I think that probably, and we are big into verbal communication, and even to the point where, if somebody is coming across our face, we'll call that cross face, and we want to take and deny them that. We don't want to let anybody ever cut toward the basket by crossing our face. And if they're going to get there, they've got to go behind us.
Here's what I would say is that, and I know you will agree, but I think you need to set up the ground rules, kind of like exactly what the protocol is for that stuff. Drills are great, but have you set up like what your approach is going to be? Is there going to be communication on setting screens? Is there going to be communication on cutters? Where are players kind of supposed to be? Like, where are they supposed to go? And then what are they doing when they don't have the ball? Yeah. That's basically teaching them how to play. When it comes down to communication, I know that when we were younger, me and my brothers, there was a lot of emphasis from my dad on teaching us how to communicate with our eyes on things like passing, or things like setting screens, where it was kind of like the unspoken communication.
Yeah.
That's important. So just kind of having these guidelines set up. What are we doing here? And having that. And then you can do things like shell drills. I mean, those are beneficial for both defense and offense. The shell can be, you can set that up and you can have your defense set and then go through the different scenarios. When the ball is skipped, what do we do? How do we recover? How do we communicate? Okay, now we're going to have that guy drive. How do we recover in that? So that you are setting up those scenarios and telling those guys how they're supposed to react, what they're supposed to be communicating. Oh, there's a screen. How do we fix that? Or how do we, adjust to that? When it comes to the offensive side, you guys are going to try to get as many passes as you can and create opportunities. You might not necessarily go for the first pass attack. We're going to have this many passes before. I was listening to, they were talking about the Spurs the other night, and that was one of the things that they were talking about is that, Coach Popovich has those guys drill where they have to get 15 passes or whatever it is before they even try to attack the basket. That's a good approach because it teaches you to work and take those opportunities and not force things. And, you'll see opportunities come up before you try to shove it in or do an ISO or whatever it is.
Right.
So those shell drills are really good. It's hard to do like a specific drill.
Just for that.
Yeah, you have to have kind of a protocol put together that you impart to those people first.
And it should be every time there's a drill where we're working on a game-like situation, there should be that communication always. Okay, just because it's a practice, everybody's talking to one another, that's a bummer. That's push-up time right there. And so just by having the fact that
very good player, but I don't have in-game footage. What should I do? Got to get some in-game footage.
Well, create it. Find somebody or several, maybe a couple of teams, and just even though it's not official teams, coaches can look at those kind of things and evaluate whether you've got a lot of potential or not. But don't let that be your excuse for not doing it. Do it.
Kevin Cole has asked, any ideas on how to stay motivated and continue with athletic training routines through the off-season? Basketball practice is fine. Yeah, I mean, you got to look at things to vary it up a little bit so that you're not doing the same exact things all the time. I mean, that's good to do anyway.
And very days that you do it. Maybe you do it every other day.
And try to set small progressing milestones and goals. So you're not saying, oh, I want to gain 8 inches in my vertical jump. It's like, okay, I want to gain 1 inch by
2 weeks from now or something.
3 weeks from now or something. And you hit that, and then you can set another goal. So it's not something that's completely out of reach. It's like you have one thing to focus on and work towards. Okay. Let's see here. This is from Fishing Boss 01, who says, I'm going to freshman for high school basketball. I'm only 5'10". Will it be difficult? And what position should I play?
Well, okay. As a freshman at 5'10", you're probably pretty much the average. You may grow another 8 or 10 inches. You don't know that for sure. But the thing is you want to go there and not be concerned with your size or anybody else's size. What you need to do is work on your game so that you can attack anybody. You can shoot from any place on the court and not worry about your size. Too much time is spent worrying about I'm 6'1" and I want to be 6'8", or I'm 5'7", and
it's the one thing you have. It's the one thing you have no control over.
Exactly.
So why worry about it at all? Tall people have advantages. Short people have advantages. Yeah. And if you're worried about that kind of stuff, I mean, you'll never advance in basketball. Do you think Isaiah Thomas is sitting there worrying about being 5'9"? Sure, he's not even that. Yeah. But do you think he's sitting there worried about that all the time? No. I mean, he's one of the top players in the league right now, and he's one of the shortest.
Yes, he is.
So get over it is what I would say.
Yeah.
Who cares? And yeah, making any team is probably going to be difficult or challenging, but that should motivate you to do it. And when it comes down to position play, you don't get to choose that. The coach chooses that. So you should come in, like you were saying, with all of the versatility of a player that can do everything. So focus on that.
Let me touch a couple here, Casey.
Okay.
We've got J.K. Fran Okay.
We already answered that one,
Oh,
though.
we did?
Yep.
I didn't think we did.
How about this one right here? MJ Sardi says, what should my schedule be on losing weight so I can be more explosive on the court?
Don't worry about unless you're really overweight. And if you are, then you need to take and start controlling your intake and what you are eating.
That's something for like a nutritionist and like your doctor and stuff.
Yeah.
I would say though, if you're working on developing your explosiveness and your athleticism, check out some of the stuff that we have on our channel and also at shotscience.com in the all access area.
Sure.
And we have kind of the answers to that stuff. It's not something that we can just hit you with right here in real time, because it's really full training programs, things like that. And it's not something that's super easy to just throw out there.
Well, and let me say this. If you're talking about the fact that maybe you have kind of a thick physique, that maybe isn't so much connected to being overweight or anything like that, then you're probably going to be okay anyway. If you're overweight, then you may want to look into some ways to drop a little of that weight.
Yeah, but if you're a young person, you need to get help with that.
Yep.
And, don't listen to Joe Schmo on the street or whoever. There's real ways to do that in a healthy way. Okay, so that's going to do it for us today, you guys. Right. We have 2 questions for you. So number 1 is, where in the world are you guys from? Right? That's our question of the week that we have all the time. Our second question is one that I'm going to make up on the spot right now, and that is, if you could play on a traveling team with any NBA player, who would it be?
Yeah. That was a good one.
Would it be KD? Would it be LeBron? Would it be Steph Curry? But you get to play on the traveling team with any one of those guys or girls. It could be from a women's WNBA team too. Maybe it's Elena Delle Donne or something like that. Who would you want to play with? So let us know that down in the comments. Where are you from and what player would you want to play with? Make sure that you follow us on all things Shot Science social media. So that's on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter. We are Shot Science on all of it. Go to shotscience.com and please, it helps support us. And we also put all the stuff there that we think is going to help you guys become better basketball players and athletes. Yeah. So if you want to get the jump box, that's awesome. It's $15 off right now. Get some Shot Science t-shirts and you can rep us around. We would super appreciate that. And check out the All Access Pass for our Shot Science training stuff there. And if you use the promo code, all in caps, 1 free month ! You can get a free month of our training stuff. So please check out Shot Science All Access. If you guys want to do some online training with Coach Tom or some of the other coaches, if you want to come to a camp or have a camp come to you, that's something you should email us about. So send us an email and we will try to figure some of that stuff out with you guys. We appreciate you being here. If we didn't get to your question, it's not because we didn't like you. It's because we ran out of time. And we will see you next time, Sunday, 1 p.m.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you guys later. Bye.